Good morning. Today is Saturday. It is the 20th, no, the 22nd, I believe. And we are in Vermont in the Five Bogs area. We are kind of scouting for hunting. I didn't really feel like bringing the extra gear today, so we're not doing hunting per se. We're going to do more of a squatching recon for grouse kind of a thing. I'm going to confirm some areas where I think there are birds to be taken. I just walked by one. I'm going to check it on the way out. And other than that, it's eyes and ears open and seeing how conditions are. It's definitely not summer anymore. It's probably batting around 35 right now, temperature-wise. And we'll see what we find today. That's the plan. So let's get moving. We are back. With the sun coming up, it is warming up nicely right now. We are at bog number 4. And I am looking for a place to cross over to get into an area where I'm going to try to see if I can rustle some grouse out of this yonder meadow right here. Worth a shot. As well as I ponder what kind of bigfooting gossip, if any, there is. Last week I had some, and I got sidetracked with other matters, so I guess we didn't. We're following some kind of a game trail right now. And today we are basically, aside from trying to stomp out some grouse, we are trying to operate on, because it is now deer season up here, the at least the theory of the opportunistic hairy folk that might want to deprive a hunter of a deer carcass, which has been a theory in bigfooting for some time. That being said, I've seen one truck drive through here all day today, and it was basically what looked to be campers rather than hunters. I did see one hunter, but he was out on the road, which means he's a shotgun guy, and he's probably gunning for a buck on the side of the road. I go in far enough, they're not really that big a concern because you're not likely going to trip over them. I also have to find a jumpable spot here because if I remember right, this spot has enough rocks across there you can do this without risking. In fact, if you look right here and you can see this, the trail ends there. There's a rock there, and the trail keeps going here. So whatever has beaten down this area has probably thought of this before I did. So I'm going to operate on their example and do the same. This is either, well, I'm looking, if you look deep enough, this is a hunter thing. I don't think it is, though. I think this is more like Bambi or Bullwinkle, just because of the extensiveness of it, but kind of looking for boot prints, because this time of year where there is Bambi, you're going to have hunters looking to take advantage, but this looks more like a bedding area. So last time I took you guys through here, similar conditions. This is not ideal grouse habitat, but again, worth a shot. I will go as far. I'm going to basically do kind of a spot check of a couple of areas, because more my agenda today, aside from some squatch related efforts, is trying to find a couple of hot spots for grouse as well, because I'm new to doing that up here, and I know we have them up here. I need to kind of I want to get more cognizant of where they hide in here, so I can find a couple of spots to work when I do come up here with the intent of getting free dinner in the way of a grouse carcass. I also have to remember this ground gets kind of unlevel in here. I'm trying to think of any. What did I have going on 2 weeks ago that I was going to mention? I had gotten into a verbal scuffle, or not a verbal scuffle, a comment-related scuffle on YouTube with one of the known Loons followers. I'm trying to remember who. Oh yes, it was the Scott Carpenter crowd. And this is a you basically, okay, I remember where we were going now. Now we can get back to where we were and we can have our rant. I'm going to actually do that in a little bit so I can focus on that and not come off too rambling in this. I'm actually going to do one of two things. I'm going to take a segment break only because, one, I need to decide what branch of this game trail I'm going to take. Ultimately, I'm going to end up over by those woods anyway, but I'm just going to find the path of least resistance. And two, kind of focus on see if I can spook up some grouse avenue as well. Kind of focus on one thing at a time, and I can kind of form my thoughts for the rant as well. So that is what we will do. We will be back in a bit. Please stay tuned. We are back. We are through the woods, not at Grandma's house, but we are through the woods to the other side of Boggs Forest, behind rear meadow. And no immediate signs of grouse. The other thing to bear in mind is, even though I'm just scouting today, you are sharing the woods with other hunters. And so directly down at a pile of some, work with me. I don't know if you're seeing that, it's a pile of somebody's poo. Given the size, I'm going to say moose, could be deer, but I'm saying moose. The animal that was pushing through the meadow back there. Deer probably have tailgated behind the moose, but I mean, given the size and the width of the trail in some areas, and just the amount of the size of the body that would have had to force the grass down as big as it was, I'm guessing moose. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So whilst we're here, let's get the rant out of the way. I'm not going to go all the way down in there. Couple spots today. I'm looking around. I don't. The fun of, I'm just going to make an observation out in this. Let me do this. All this brambly undergrowth stuff in here. Trying to get a shot at a grouse in this, trying to retrieve a grouse in this, or recover your arrow in here. It's thick stuff, so fun times. That would be fun times. So, the rant of the day, and this is going to fall under the category of sorry, not sorry. For the subject to progress in what I feel to be the right direction, certain things need to be said and certain things need to be called out. And right now you have two different groups that I would basically equate with cult activity. Now, the obvious one would be the Matthew Johnson camp and all the Zorth nonsense. I've come into contact recently on, and they do prowl YouTube looking for people with an open mind, what they call an open mind. I will call a gullible mind. And they have asked, well, have you actually read his books? Have you actually read? I'm like, no, I haven't. And the reason I'm not gonna read his books is because I know the gist of the Zorth fable, and it is painfully bullshit. And the thing of the matter is, I have not read The Watchtower, I have not read the Book of Mormon, I have not read any L. Ron Hubbard Scientology-related nonsense for exactly the same fucking reasons. It's bullshit. Zorth is bullshit. Matthew Johnson, a freaking person who suffered a traumatic head wound earlier in his life, and people that mutually know us have told me he was not the same person after the head wound, leaving me to believe he is on some level legitimately batshit crazy and very questionably qualified as a therapist or counselor or whatever his fucking determination is. I don't care. He should not have it. He should not have a therapy's license or certificate or whatever he has. He should be forced into therapy himself, and he should not be having that. And he certainly shouldn't be running a cult that gives false hope to cancer victims. All of which are allegations thrown his way. Bear with me as I curse my way through here trying to find a way to not go through all the grabber bushes, but when I figure out the perfect path through here, I'll let you know. Anyway, that's one of them. So if you see me on YouTube and you see me make a comment somewhere, save your breath, save your efforts. Do not approach me and say, have you read his stuff? Because it's not some mind-blowing tome that's going to suddenly make me see the light. It is freaking the story of a psychopath and possibly sociopath who believes that he made some kind of fucking machine that doesn't exist and saved a bunch of aliens from another world and brought them to Earth, whereupon they magically turned into freaking pine trees. Bullshit. I'm not going to read the screed of a kook. There was a term in the 90s, kook screed. It basically is the nutter's rant. And I have no obligation to waste my time and brain cells on such things. So if you see me out there and you know me to be a flesh and blooder and somebody who does not buy into the Zorth nonsense, and the Xanu is basically a ripped off term from, I forget where, but it was a science fiction book. Might even have been one of L. Ron Hubbard's pieces of shit. But it was a ripped off term. The plant people thing was a thing that he doctored and took from Michael Merchant when Michael Merchant was in that, I'll just say, that area of speculation. Mike is another person who is, but the thing is with Mike, the difference is Mike is an actual field biologist, and actually I've been out in the woods with him. I've actually talked to him. So I have a bead on him and his thought process. And there is an element of trollish humor in some of the stuff that he does as well. Basically, he's a guy who marches to his own drum, and there is nothing wrong with that. There's a difference. I, in many ways, fall into that category as well, in many categories. And again, sorry, not sorry. You don't like it, then you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. I have a lower end, subscriber-wise anyway, YouTube channel, and if you find yourself there, you can look to your left and your right and find that nobody has a gun to your head making you watch it. If you like my stuff, great. If you don't, I have never been overly shy about where I come from, mindset-wise. And I will not apologize for being of the mindset I am. I have seen them. And what I saw was not a fucking bunch of pine tree having, mind-speaking, portal-traveling Zorth people. That is made of fantasy by a very sick mind who probably should be in a rubber room somewhere. And that's coming from somebody who is acutely aware of their own mental health limitations. Whole different rant. Michael Merchant has stated that he has some, and I will leave that to his business. He can speak to that himself, but he has had a candid video or two on the subject of his own. Maybe to better have people understand where he's coming from. There is no shame in having a mental issue if you're having it handled. I'm not going to mention her name, but I freely admit I have a therapist. There's nothing wrong with having therapy, but we're kind of going off topic now. I'll end that note by saying having a therapist is basically working through shit that you feel you need to mentally work on. And there's no shame in it, and anybody who gives you stigma for it is doing so for, I'm going to say, pseudo-predatory reasons. I could go into a whole different rant. We'll cover that maybe later in the video, but we're gonna do this for now. So that's the Zorth breed. Don't come up to me and, well, have you read it? I'm not going to read his book. His book is bullshit. His book is the fantasy of a diseased mind, and no, I have better things to do. I'm not going to read his book. It's not going to change my life. And if you want to take the cult angle, let me just make the point. I have read large parts of the Bible as well as the Quran. And for the people that are fervently of these religions and say it will change your life, for some maybe it will, for some maybe it won't. Bold claim without basis. I need to sneak through this and get over there. And this is exactly the useless undergrowth I was talking about. But to get over there, I need to get through this shit, and then I can go down there easily. But as I stomp and wade through the lovely grapper bushes and have them assail my shins, which pretty much I end up doing at least, well, every time I'm out here. So I get down past this crap, and then I pop out back where the meadow is, and we're back where we came from. And yes, that sucked. The other thing to point in mind is I do, even though these are treated in permethrin, I do a periodic tick check, because even though it's in the 30s and 40s, I do believe ticks are potentially active into the mid-40s. They are parasitical as shits that are annoyingly resilient down to certain temperatures. And there is such a thing as snow ticks too that make Bullwinkle's life miserable in the course of the winter. So even then, those little blood-sucking Nazis are out. The other one, and the one I actually got into it with, the other cult would be the Scott Carpenter, Steve Isdall, David Paulides circumstance. And I have, so here's the thing before, have you read any of David Paulides? Yes, I have. I've actually read one of David Paulides' books relevant to my own region. Because in that case, as a matter of being able to speak to that, certain missing persons cases that are relevant to southern New England are known to me. And you can actually read the historical actual what happened, what was suspected and all that. And you can actually see where David Paulides kind of peppers in ever so subtly in some cases, sometimes more subtle than others. He peppers in the, oh, well, it could be Bigfoot, or it could be fucking aliens, or he delves towards that. And he kind of touches on the portal shit, too. When I see that kind of thing, because I think, as you see where I am right now, I can speak to the fact I may need to, I don't know, I think we're still okay, but the camera might be doing that all bright thing shortly. I'm going to probably have to stop and start again. In fact, let's do that before I continue. We are back. I was going to blame the cold weather for the camera acting up, but actually out here in the sun right now, it's probably in the mid-40s. It's not really that cold out, so. Okay, back to Paulides. As I said, there's a couple of cases in New England that I'm aware of, and I can actually apply the known historical account versus what he is plying in his book. And there was one from the late 40s that happened in southern Vermont, and he puts a little passage in there. It's not a big thing, it doesn't seem like a lot, but she screamed out in the middle of a swamp somewhere, so she went missing in the woods. This is not completely true. The way I remember it, the historical fact is the main suspect in her disappearance was a truck driver that lived near where she went hiking and had a violent history with his wife and had a row with her that night, and basically he was a person of interest in this girl's disappearance. Nowhere in any point was there any suggestion of Bigfoot-related involvement. And that is strictly a Paulides invention. You heard me. And he in particular is kind of insidious because, and again, I've read his books, they are entertaining, but you have to see them through the proper lens. But in a way, he's more insidious because he milks his past as a police officer to give himself apparent authenticity, number one. And number two, he basically what he does with enough subtlety that it doesn't initially seem like what he's doing. So, and then you have Scott Carpenter, who I know enough about him to know that he is one of the advocates of mind speak and the portal jumping, that kind of stuff, and basically what I consider in the woo factor to basically be the kook factor. And again, if you're offended by this, because some people were, you know, get a life. I'm like, no, I see I have a life. I'm out here in the woods, but I get sick and tired of people getting sucked into this nonsense, because we'll get to what my actual problem is with it in a minute. You have Carpenter, who pushes that. He also has, and I am going to go here, I don't normally go down the realm of politics, but he also has some fringe belief systems from some of the shit he's said and seen posting on Facebook and the like, that he's a member of the cult of Q, if I would be hazarding a guess. And these are not rational people. So, before you get on me for being a libturd or all these, I dislike the liberals as much as I dislike the Trumpers. I am disgusted with the entire political system, just so we know, because both sides have been taken over by the lunatic fringe. And all the rest of us in the middle don't really have a fair voice anymore, because the loons are yelling louder than anyone else. That is my take on American politics right now. If you don't like it, too bad. You got your right to disagree. I got my right to spout off. Just like you do. Now I have to remember where the hell that damn jumping point was. But it was a fairly obvious way through the trail that was blazed by Bullwinkle. I think it's here. And then you have Steve Isdall, who has a militant little following and tries to say, well, I tell it like it is and all that. Like, to be blunt, no, you don't. You don't tell it like it is. You basically steal the stories of other people. And you put up a blue screen and a lovely Windows fucking background kind of thing for Windows that looks all mountainy and all that. And you read people's emails from other people. And if this pisses off his loyal following, go fuck yourself. I don't care. When I first had this guy come through and he came across trying to peddle his notion of being a straight shooter, I gave him a fair chance. I listened to what he had to say. And then watched over time as he devolved into the current fucking moron that he is. I don't owe anyone an apology for saying that. If he's your guy, why are you on my channel? We clearly are not on the same page. And I don't owe you that. Any more than you owe me a damn thing. I don't owe you a damn thing, so suck it up and move on with your day if this offends you. But him versus Paulides, at least Paulides writes his own shit. Isdall takes the shit of other people, and he wrote a whole book of other people's email. So what we learned from that is, yes, Steve Isdall knows how to do a copy and paste from a freaking email to a book. Nice job, Steve. You're a hell of a guy. Except for the whole point where you're selling bullshit to gullible minds, but that's on you. My problem with these people, you know, there are going to be those that say, well, why do you care? Why is it your business? It's my business because I actually would like to see the mystery of this thing solved, if I'm being blunt. And when you have goobers like this adding to the white noise that distracts from the freaking small body of probable evidence with the obvious bullshit that they bring, you're part of the problem. Get out of the way. That's my message. Like it or not, I'm going to take a segment break, and we'll move on to other things when I come back. That was my rant for the day. Thank you for listening. Like it or don't, you still listen to it, so here we are. We'll be back in a bit. Okay, we're back, and we are making our way to the I'm going to just call it the underbelly, for lack of a better word, of bog number 3. In going through this ferny stuff, trying to, again, God forbid we pop a bird up. So far we've had no luck today, but you might wonder why I talk, because, well, I'm making noise, they know I'm coming, they flush that way. They also do so at enough of a distance that they don't pop up right in front of me and give me the fucking heart attack that the damn birds are known for doing. One could fairly call them cardiac chickens for that reason. It's actually when I was having a conversation with a deer hunter, we were kind of musing and talking shop, if you will, and he's like, yeah, those birds scare. I'm like, yeah, that's why I don't have a problem shooting them, because they're a pain in the ass. I don't have an animosity towards. I have animosity towards them, so I don't mind shooting them. Plus, they're good eating. All you got to do is find them and get a shot off, but that's a thought for another day. I have a compound bow I hunt them with, and I guess we're moving into at least a little hunting discussion on the way over here. I have a compound bow, and I have a traditional old school bow. It's actually a Mongolian bow. Basically, it's a curved stick with a string, and I use that one in favor over the compound bow, because unlike deer hunting, when you flush a grouse up, you probably have the space of maximum 2 seconds to get the shot off as the bird is getting into the air. And with a compound bow, you're not really set up to do that very well, whereas a bow like the Mongol bow is actually more of a quick draw thing. And you can practice to get fairly accurate with that. And that is the better technique for doing that. I did warn you I was going to kind of like mix subjects in videos as I get more into that and kind of multitask. I am a notorious multitasker, and having mixed subjects in in the woods, I'm not going to apologize for. It is my nature. I'm also going to touch on something that Michael Merton touched on during the week. He got talking about the, seems to be a current social media fad where people are playing with AI-generated art generators. He mentioned 2 of the big ones, Night Cafe and Midjourney, and I have an account on both of these as well. He had mentioned the Night Cafe, the effects look cartoonish. I would counter that by arguing that you're basically half of the puzzle of getting what you want out of either one of these things is it's a word puzzle. It's how you word what you want. And Midjourney is admittedly more nuanced, but that means you have to fart with it more too. I don't really favor one over the other. They each have strengths. When you're making weird aliens, as I seem to like to do. If you've seen my recent Facebook post, you'll see I had a day when I did bird aliens. I had one when I did, of all things, zebra aliens. And each one does things a little bit differently, and in that little weird niche of making artwork, I don't really favor one over the others. They both have certain strengths. And I will admit I have to tinker more with Midjourney to learn it better, but then that's going to require that I actually get a paid subscription, whereas I have one for Night Cafe. I don't necessarily have one as of yet. I was tinkering with Midjourney more before I put down money on it, but it is worthy of a paid subscription to learn how to use it more. I do want to compliment Mike, because he was telling how he has like a work cycle of how he goes through a couple of variations, finds the one he wants before he gets the master render and gets a high resolution photo of maximal quality. He goes and does a good job of explaining how that works. So he's to be commended for that. Night Cafe is a little more straightforward in how you do that, but You want a nice view. Like, hold on. Let me come back and do it again because the camera's doing that stupid thing again. Okay, we're back, and the nice view is this. But when the camera does that lighting thing, which I have yet to understand why, I think it's on the way out over time. They kind of give up their age or whatever. But wear and tear cameras, and it's not like I take them out to the easiest places all the time either. So what I'm referring to is basically this. You got like a nice mountain. We're on the back side of bog number 2. We were basically over there. There's a junction. We are on the other side of that. Now we're over here. And there goes somebody through there. I stealthed them. From the Jeep, they are campers and or hunters. I would go like this. If they have Connecticut plates, they're probably campers. If they are Vermont plates, they are probably hunters. You can generally tell what people are doing out in the woods by the vehicle they drive to some degree, if you don't mind my being a stereotypical stereotyper right now. You have a Jetta, you have a like vehicle or a Subaru. You're a hiker who probably has a dog with you. If you have a truck, this time of year, you're a hunter. If you're a Jeep guy or a Blazer, you could be doing either. But hunters are usually Jeep and Blazer pickup truck people. Anyway, I was going to do a mental health thing, but that's too far a departure from the given subject. I don't want to go down that road. We're going to shelve that topic for now. So where we are in the season, I'll just do that, and then I'm going to probably take a segment break and wrap this up for today. If you notice and look out there, and let me zoom in on the mountain view over there, you can notice a lot of the leaves are down. Down in Connecticut, we still have leaves on the ground, but they are starting to come down too. But up here, the leaves are down, and only the pine trees are what you see. Maybe a couple of residual colors, but I mean, we're at the point now where we're moving into November. We're not quite there yet. We got 2 more weeks, but up here things happen. There's like a 2 to 3 week separation in the fall color cycle between Connecticut and Vermont. And that is just a random semi-meteorological musing of mine. I'm going to wrap this up because I find I'm getting kind of rambly at this point. We covered a philosophical rant about yet another flaw in the Bigfoot community and the cult scene, if you want to call it that. And if you watch my stuff and you like those guys, boo-hoo. I'm not saying you have to choose, but I am a straight shooting flesh and blood guy. I don't buy into the Zorth nonsense. If you do, stop. If you are, and we're talking mental health, have yours looked at, because that's where you are. Dr. Matthew Johnson is not a doctor. He is a seller. He's a snake oil salesman. And I'm going to say it is my solid opinion, he is not right in the head. But he has gone from being somebody who probably needs help to somebody who is basically at this point pretty sinister. And he's always telling you, well, I'm this big, arrogant, tall guy. Well, that's kind of an implied bullying kind of thing. You have all the narcissistic traits of somebody that a normal-minded person does not want to deal with. But that segues into a rant about what would be considered normal this day and age, because as we get more cognizant of mental health, I guess we're going to kind of do a tap dance around this. You live in an age with enough fucked up things going on that anxiety, depression, these things are normal. Probably one in every other person has these things to some degree. Neuroses and OCD, I think every person has in some shape or form. So what is normal? We'll leave you on that. And at that point, we're going to stop rambling. We're going to go into the YouTuber thing here and say if you like or don't like, leave a comment. Tell me I suck. If you do, tell me why. I mean, at least give me that much. Or if you like what I do, say so. Give suggestions. If you think I could do something better, please do. And other than that, like, subscribe, do all that if you're so moved. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening. And before the camera starts doing stupid stuff again, I'm going to be on my way. Have a great day, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.